Well, call to order. The third meeting of the Senate and State and Local Government Committee is and now call to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Herron,
Here.
Senator Madon, Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Senator Mills,
Here.
Senator Rawlings, Senator Tishner, Vice Chair Elkins,
Present.
Chair Nemus.
Present. Do any of the members have any introductions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a friend that I just saw walk in the room earlier, and just wanted to welcome him and his son, Mike Vickers, and his son, Hank, are here. He's in the engineering world and good friend from back in Henderson, so I want to welcome him today.
Any others? All right. Reminders, please silence your cell phones and turn the mic on when you are speaking. The first item on the agenda is Senate Bill 10, Senator Mills.
Mr. Chairman, as they get set, Elon Musk yesterday said that he was President Trump's tech support, so I got my tech support here today.
Go ahead.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm here today to discuss Senate Bill 10. This legislation will change CERS retiree health benefits available for members who began participating in the system on or before July 1, 2003. I've heard from both employees and employers over the last couple years regarding the adequacy of retiree health subsidies that was established in 2003. To address these concerns, employee and employer groups have worked together with me for more than a year to develop a plan that enhances retiree health benefits for CERS career retirees. The goal is to better align their benefits with the cost of the under 65 health plan. We have presented these concepts twice to PPOB, and we've done a little bit of fine-tuning to this legislation over the last several months. The changes proposed in Senate Bill 10 to CERS health insurance system will help with recruitment and retention and maintain a solid financial footing for the system. I think that's important to repeat. It's going to help with recruitment and retention, which we've heard several times from law enforcement over the last couple of years, and will maintain solid financial footing of the system. In doing that, we're balancing the interests of retirees while also ensuring liabilities are addressed and employer cost risks are limited by including provisions in the bill that create a shared cost structure between employers and employees to pay for this enhanced benefit. The health subsidy for CERS non-hazardous retirees that retire after 27 years of service would increase from the current $14.63 a month for each year of service to $40 for each year of service. The health subsidy for CERS hazardous duty retirees that retire after 20 years of service for Tier 1 and 25 years of service for Tier 2 and Tier 3 would increase from the current level of $21.94 per month for each year of service to $50 for each year of service. The goal of these changes is to allow the retiree to be able to pay the cost of a single premium, which we believe is very consistent with what was set in 2003 when they created the fixed dollar health subsidy. Employees will help fund this increase through some increases in employee contribution. Only non-hazardous employees on the health subsidy hired before September 1, 2008, we'll see an increase. And they will begin contributing 1%, which is the same that Tier 2 and Tier 3 are currently paying. For hazardous employees, they will begin contributing 2% of their pay of the current rate, and that current rate is 1%. So they'll have a 1% increase. Because the non-hazardous health fund is 122.3% funded, the actuarial analysis does not anticipate an immediate increase for employers' contribution rates for this fund. And while the hazardous fund is currently 100.5% funded, the increased benefit will likely result in a slightly higher contribution rate, increasing only 2.2%. As long as the contributions by employees and employers continue as we described, this legislation accomplishes its goal of enhancing these important employee benefits while continuing to ensure the actuarial soundness of our funds, which we're all concerned with. So with that overview, I'll hand it over to my tech support here, and they'll give a little bit of testimony about how this bill will help them in recruitment and retention. So I'll allow, if we'll start at the side, Jerry.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Jerry Wagner. I'm a retired sheriff. I'm the director of the Kentucky Sheriff's Association. First of all, thank you all for allowing us to be here this morning and present this important bill. As the senator said, we have spent a lot of time on this. The biggest issue that we see if we are not able to fix this is we're having a hard time retaining and hiring, and this will fix this problem a lot for us. It'll also allow us, when people do retire, it allows the ability to rehire and fill those positions at SROs and court security people for the retirees. So it is a very important bill for us, and again, thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Good morning. I'm Jeremy Thompson, current chief of police in Elizabethtown, and I represent the Kentucky Chiefs Association. Sheriff Wagner and Senator Mills have already said it's a great tool for recruitment and retention. And I think what it does is it allows us, as we look for a dwindling group of applicants in our career field, it gives us an additional resource to reach out to those and say, there's light at the end of this tunnel when you make it to your retirement age. For those that are currently with us, it allows them a better ability to afford insurance for them, for their families, when they retire after years of sacrifice in this profession. And I think as much as it provides the tool for recruitment and retention, I think it's a great example of collaboration. We have our sheriffs, our chiefs, Senator Mills, our firefighters, our League of Cities, and it's just a great example of the collaborative effort that it took to bring forth this benefit for our employees, and we're really appreciative that you would hear it this morning.
Hello, Jeff Taylor. I am the Director of Legislative Affairs on behalf of the Kentucky Professional Firefighters. So I'll speak directly to what I think is one of the biggest benefits of this bill. As recognized, it was a collaborative effort over the course of the last year to get to something that was palatable for both employers and employees. And I'm specifically in the latter part of my career. And having to face some sort of decision on where I go next, this particular bill will cause me to stay another 5 years because it puts me in control of my health care costs. If the $50 stipend per year at 20 years of services, which is where I'm at, provides me the ability to pay for a single plan. However, if I stay an additional 5 years, there's language in current statute that provides an additional $5 on top of the $55 for each year I stay after. So at the end of a 25-year career, I'll have $75 times 25, or $1,875, close to what it would cost to provide health care for my wife and myself. My kids are grown and on their own. But it definitely puts an incentive out there for the employees to consider when they're trying to make a decision on when they retire, what's in their best interest, from this point in their life moving forward. So specifically on the retention side of things, I think it'll be hugely beneficial in keeping firefighters, police officers on the job just a little bit longer.
I'll be brief, Mr. Chairman. I know that's unusual. I will say this is a great piece of legislation. Those of you that have followed the league over the past couple of decades know that we've been stalwarts when it comes to protecting employer cost and taxpayer exposure. This legislation does this. It resists the temptation, perhaps, to go back to the pre-2003 ride the healthcare inflation wave, because it keeps the flat amount on the subsidy. It's a really responsible way of giving our city officials, which is what they've been asking for tools to continue to recruit and definitely retain that experience without exposing them to a great deal of risk. What I think is extremely valuable that Leader Mills did on this legislation was ensure that there's some shared cost. Both the employees and the employers are willing to do that with limited risk to the taxpayers. It's going to be a very important tool, very important to the city officials across the state, and appreciate the collaborative effort under Senator Mills' leadership.
Very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, this bill kind of rolls in a lot of the things that we've talked in the retirement world and in PPOB over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think you can remember back in the pandemic, we were seeing public service departments that were short 10, 15, 20, 25 employees. I think this gives them another tool in the toolbox to keep those employees around and have career employees. And the other point is that, in 2003, this health benefit was meant to pay for a single policy, and now the inflation of health services has gone up, and that's not doable. This gets this back in shape to where when they retire, they have those funds available to have health insurance. So I think this is a very good bill. It's something that, we've watched in PPOB over the years about costs, about liabilities, and this does not affect any of those as CERS is separated. So be happy to answer any questions if any of the members have any questions, but we've worked hard to collaborate across all schemes. You notice you don't see the FOP here. The FOP is supportive of the bill, but they're just not up there testifying today. So we even have the rank and file FOP support of these on this legislation. So be happy to answer any questions, and of course I got my tech support here to help me.
Is there any discussion or questions on the bill, Senator Herron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you all for your dedication and service to the Commonwealth and to our communities. And when I think about, in general, how do we continue to make our community safe, it is making sure that the individuals who are doing the work have the things that they need. And I believe that this piece of legislation does do that, and hopefully also help with that pipeline as far as that career pipeline and workforce development. So thank you all for your work on this and just for your service altogether.
Yeah.
Senator Rawlings. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would just say, and I don't want to not forget to mention this, but this is shared solution between employees and employers, and if the employee groups weren't willing to contribute, this would not be possible. So I think this is a very good middle ground. So,
Senator Rawlings.
I didn't sign up, but I'm very thankful for this group. And I got a call from a really close friend. I know it's needed and totally supportive. We got good support for this in Boone County, and I'm glad you brought this to our attention.
I know you didn't ask to speak, but we wanted to hear from you. So.
Mr. Chairman, if
So-
in order, I'll make a motion.
Yes. Do I have a second? We have a second. Madam Secretary, call for it.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Elkins,
Mr. President, I'd like to explain my aye vote,
Go ahead.
or Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Damn, I was going to say, he got a promotion.
Yeah, you did. I want to thank the senator and the group at the table for working together to produce a really good and necessary piece of legislation. It almost sounds like an unfunded mandate, but it's not. It it's a collaboration between the parties to work together to pay for this. And I think the savings that'll be realized from retention and reduced turnover will more than pay for any cost for this bill. So it's a good piece of legislation. I thank you for working on it. I thank everybody for being here today. I vote aye.
Senator Herron.
Aye.
Senator Madon. Aye. Senator Mays Bledsoe.
Aye.
Senator McDaniel.
Cast my vote and explain, Mr. Chairman. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cast an aye vote. And gentlemen, thank you all for what you guys do, both here, but also more importantly on the sides of roads and houses and homes that are, when people find themselves in a bad scene and they don't know what else to do, they know who to call in our communities. And we sincerely appreciate that out of every one of you. And, you know, I would be remiss, Mr. Chairman, if I didn't take the chance to comment that, you know, when we talk about the spiraling costs of health care in the Commonwealth and around the nation, this is where it comes out. It's folks who choose to dedicate their lives to policing or to the fire service or to education or to construction or whatever the case is, you know, and we look, and unfortunately, we see centers of profit, but frankly, we see centers of greed in a lot of people's cases. And it's disturbing societally because ultimately it boils down to the level where a person in law enforcement or construction or whatever the case is sees less and less in take home because they have to pay more and more in health care. And there's some fundamental unfairnesses going on societally right now. And I know that's not the scope of this bill, but I get 3 minutes to explain a vote. And so I'm going to say what I want to say. So I think that there's some big conversations to be had. Obviously, this is where the rubber meets the road, and we do appreciate what you guys do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Mills. Senator Rawlings.
I don't even know if I registered my attendance, but I'm here and I'm a strong aye.
Senator Tishner.
Can I explain my aye vote, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank Senator Mills for working on this, and thank you all for coming to the table and for your service to our communities. It's invaluable, and I think this is a great step in the right direction. I don't think it's a complete solution to some of the issues that we see in our CERS system. So hopefully we can move forward and make things right for you all. I got a call from my sheriff, Wakefield, in my district this morning about this, and he gave me a brief rundown of some history that I wasn't aware of in my limited time here. And I think this is a step in the right direction, and I hope we keep moving forward. Thank you.
Chair Nemus.
Mr. Chair, can I explain my vote? Yes. Okay. Senator Mills, I'm glad you brought this, and you did the right thing. You went to Public Protection Oversight Board first and discussed this at length, and you got Senator Higdon on board, which shows that it doesn't cost or probably won't cost much. And when Senator McDaniels is for it, we know we're in good shape. So, this is something why we are very frugal and tight with our budgets so that we can, if needed, in this case maybe not needed, help the people that we really want to do the things, the firemen, the police, the teachers, and so forth. I almost voted no because Jeff said he was going to hang around. But all the other offset that, and I'm an aye vote. This passes 9-0 with favorable expression and expect to do the same on the floor. The next item on the agenda is Senate Bill 65, sponsored by Senator West. You all alone? Introduce yourself and go on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have tech support today. I got a couple of great ladies in the back here who we'll shout out to them. Administrative reg staff, they do a fantastic job and keep me in line. Senator Steve West, 27th District, do I have permission to proceed, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
So I'm presenting today Senate Bill 65. And for most of you on this committee, this is old hat. My initial history or explanation will be primarily directed to some of the new members. I think we have at least three new members on the committee. And so I'm chairman of the Administrative Regs Committee along with Representative Lewis. That committee is charged with reviewing every regulation that passes through state government, and we have certain duties and responsibilities. The two main things we can do is find a reg deficient or ask the cabinet to defer on the regulation. And so that's pretty much our limited powers in those situations. If they choose not to defer, the bill keeps, the regulation keeps moving. If we find it deficient, we can find it deficient, but that reg still continues through the process, okay? And so the deficiency is mainly just a flag. Several years ago, we started addressing the issue of those regulations going into effect, even though they were found deficient, and we started filing a bill every year, Senate Bill 65. And so this is the fifth iteration of that bill. And simply what it does is any regulation that's found deficient by our committee during our meeting, during a one-year period, we meet every month, we put that in a bill, and that regulation is officially, statutorily made null and void, okay? And so that's what Senate Bill 65 does. That's the essence of it. There was only one subject matter area that we found deficient. It was two regulations, but one subject matter area. So of all the thousands of regulations we reviewed during the year, the committee officially found one subject matter area deficient. I'm prepared to go into the details on that specific matter, but that's all it does. It just it's the fifth version of SB 65. SB 65 has successfully navigated the House and Senate. If it does this year, it will be the fifth year in a row. Open any questions.
Is there any discussion or questions? Senator Herron.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for explaining this. I had the honor of sitting on regs for a couple of months, and oftentimes when I was there, I was not really clear exactly what's happening and going on. So thank you for explaining that process of why we do this and what that means. The only question I have is that has the cabinet said anything about saying that these regs would be invalid, what type of impact that they would have at all?
Yes, and so I'll get into the details on it now because this one actually deserves detail to properly answer your question. And so the essence of the regulation at hand was a reg that was proposed by the Department for Medicaid Services, and it simply added new regulation and new required a graduation requirement, MBA graduate program requirement to employees, to behavioral health associates. Currently, they're required to have a BA, and this requirement would require a master's degree, okay? The providers appeared and spoke again. They provided public comment, and then they spoke in front of the committee numerous times, and they stated that if this goes through, we will lose providers across the state immediately, okay? Then that, in other words, that would have a detrimental effect and impact behavioral health services across the state. And so we felt as a committee that from a policy standpoint, that was a bad idea. But we didn't just clamp down immediately in the committee. This regulation was first in the committee in March, and we had back and forth, and they were asked to defer. Sometimes they chose to defer. Sometimes we asked them to defer. They agreed to defer. They deferred on 8 different occasions, and so this went on for a period of 8 months. And so that's kind of how the committee works. We say, okay, here's the parties on both sides. Please defer, which means, okay, go work it out. Go behind closed doors, work this thing out, come to a solution. And they can never, ever really reach a solution. And so what the committee does, 8 months is a long time to negotiate, in a simple regulation like this. And what the committee does, you eventually have to make a judgment call. Are we just going to let this, is the cabinet going to win, or are the providers and general public going to win in that situation? And we, in this case, we made the decision to side with the providers. And so that's how that particular situation went down. Thank you.
I see no further questions.
Motion on bill.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Elkins,
Aye.
Senator Herron,
Aye.
Senator Madon, Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel,
Aye.
Senator Mills, Senator Rawlings, Senator Tishner, Chair Nemus.
Aye. It's 9-0. Senate Bill 67 passes with favorable expression and should do so on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
67, yeah. No, 65. Okay, 65. I'm sorry. Okay. The last item on the agenda is Senate Bill 104, sponsored by Senator Madon. Please continue or start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Scott Maiden, Senate District 29. With me today, I have Mr. Alan Hurst, Executive Director of the Personnel Cabinet. Mr. Biddle. I'm sorry, Mr. Biddle. Where did I get Alan?
Alan's our legislative.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My apologies.
I apologize for that. Mr. Biddle, the Executive Director.
I won't let you call me Alan.
Okay. Senate Bill 104 is legislation concerning Kentucky deferred comp for state employees. Legislation does four things. I'm going to highlight them, and then I'm going to let him kind of go through them and explaining this bill. Went through the House last year, I think 99-0. Didn't get time for another hearing, but it provides for codified fiduciary standard. It provides for purchasing fiduciary liability insurance and reducing risk and liability for the KDC against financial losses. And it adds self-correcting mechanisms to maintain compliance with federal law to avoid legislative changes. It also authorizes KDC to offer to SBDA to participate self-directed brokerage accounts, a brokerage account of record offered by the broker-dealer selected by the board and registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So that's the basic four things that it will cover, and I'm going to let you explain the KRS and the different.
Absolutely. We don't have a codified fiduciary standard, which is a little harrowing for $4.5 billion.
Please state your name for the record.
Oh, my apologies. Chris Biddle. I'm the executive director for Kentucky Deferred Comp. So we don't have a codified fiduciary standard. We're rolling on a prudent man standard. We'd like to fix that and come into congruence with the other pension plans. Any questions on that one? That's pretty straightforward. The fiduciary liability, we already buy fiduciary liability insurance. One of the main problems we have as a governmental plan is all of the fiduciary liability policies are ERISA policies. So there's this conundrum that do we purchase a policy that has all this extra coverage, or do we, get the bare bones coverage that's available? So we've chosen to go with the bare bones, but there's that question there of whether, what the intent from the legislature wants to see us do. So we'd like to hard code that it's up to the board to figure out whether that's a benefit or not, and clearly we think that's a benefit. So any questions on point 2?
Is there any discussion on Senate Bill 104 or questions?
Yeah, I'm on 2.
He's got 2 more.
See, that's our problem last time. Self-correcting mechanism. There's been more change in federal law in the last 4 years than the previous 40. This will keep us out of your hair. We'll be able to self-correct these things and just fall in compliance with federal law. So that's just we pulled most of that language came out of judicials statutes. So all these provisions have pulled from the other plans. So you'll see familiar language in there. And then the final one is the self-directed brokerage account. Those previous ones are more cleanup. This is a new provision. It would allow us to offer this brokerage account. In the ERISA sector, you see about a 2% utilization rate, so it's very small. However, and I've said this at PPOB and shared this information, those participants with a self-directed brokerage account have a 7.5 times larger balance than an average participant. So we just believe that you've got to look into that, or, and there's people that ask for it. But the fact that you're leaving that much off the table or on the table, we think that we need to add this. We're using the Federal Thrift Plan, the TSP plan, as an example. They've had theirs for about 3 years now. We started about a year after them, and as fate would have it, now we've got about 3 years of data to look into for implementation. So I feel like the time is right for us to start making efforts to put this into our plan. That's all.
You finished?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Is there any discussion or questions on Senate Bill 104? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, yes.
Motion on bill.
Second. We have second. Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Chambers Armstrong, Senator Elkins,
Aye.
Senator Herron,
Aye.
Senator Madon,
Aye.
Senator Mays Bledsoe, Senator McDaniel, Senator Mills,
Aye.
Senator Rawlings, Senator Tishner, Chair Nemus.
Aye. Senate Bill 104 passes with favorable expression and should do so on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you all for your support.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. If there is no further business, is there a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.